and you begin to have just very intentional quiet time, and you come out with potentially a grandmaster plan.
I love bookkeeping.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for listening to the I Love Bookkeeping podcast. My name is Hannah Robinson.
And I'm Melissa Honan.
And thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a new episode out every Tuesday and Thursday. Today, we have a special treat for our listeners. We're interviewing one of our very own students turned super successful business owners, and that is Ben Day. If you were recently at BKX, you saw Ben Day speak, and he was such an amazing student. He's been super involved for several years now, and he is hugely successful and has a huge bookkeeping firm and so many other things going on that we are so excited to talk about today. Ben, thank you for coming on the show.
Dude, I am so excited to be here. It is stereotypical of me. I love running my mouth about business ownership and bookkeeping. And when it was like, hey, do you want to come on I Love Bookkeeping and just do more of that? It's like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. Let's get it done. I'm super excited to be here.
Don't lie to them, Ben Day. Ben Day messaged me like 12 different times asking when I was going to have him on the podcast, and I continued to ignore him. So,
listen, look, it's all about the follow-up. If you learn one thing right out the gate, it's all about 7 to 15 touches, guys. You want to close a sale, you got to be persistent.
I love that. Well, we're so excited to have you here. I want you to share with our listeners really quickly the name of your business, where you're located, how long you've been in business, and what niche you work with.
Sure, yeah. So, hi, I'm Ben Day. I own Lionshare Bookkeeping. We've been in business since 2017. I'm based out of Oklahoma City, but my clients and my team members are everywhere. And we work exclusively with real estate investment companies. Very specifically inside that, it is kind of different mindsets inside real estate would be either like your traditional landlord or house flipper or wholesaler, or folks that run syndications, funds, and private equity, or things like short-term rental management, property management, and things in that space. So it's real estate's a huge field, but we try to keep it in the ditches in those general respects.
Wow. So you cover a pretty wide net of kind of subcategories within your niche, right?
Yeah. And this was kind of the big problem that I encountered day one. Like, I'm a huge fan of having a niche. And that's really something that I know, like Bookkeeper Launch and all of those products that really kind of helped me glow up, so to speak, really push hard on it. There's a ton of value in picking a niche. The issue we ran into was every single person I meet who is a real estate investor, that's how they describe themselves, they're chasing rabbits. They want to do a little bit of everything all the time. And if we were going to serve that industry, we had to kind of become good at everything. And now my business has grown enough, thank the Lord, that I'm able to silo my own teams into, okay, you only talk to the fund managers. You only talk to the property managers. You talk to the house flippers that are insane. But you kind of have to whenever you're working in this industry.
That's awesome. So how many people do you have on your team?
Oh, mercy. So I have 3 offshore staff, 8 W-2 employees, and then probably a dozen subcontractors right now.
Wow. I didn't realize you had that many subcontractors.
Dude, I really, I love it. I love it so much. Mostly because all of our subcontractors to date are from the Bookkeeper Launch program. They're all folks that were kind of like me. And when I was thinking about my early days as a bookkeeper, I was like, man, I really wish there was someone that I could just see what they do and how they do it. What does this look like? And I would do anything. Like in 2017, I would have done anything to have that kind of that window in. And so it's like, can I take on a subcontractor, give them 2 clients, access to everything that we do, and just let them kind of grow. And if they want to join our team in a bigger capacity later, cool. If they want to break up with me and go do their own thing because they're amazing, also cool. But it's something that I really enjoy, kind of as in a mentor-mentee space of like, how's your business going? And can I help you grow and teach you and give you the confidence and all that? So I love having subcontractors. Absolutely love it.
Now, are you managing the entire team, or do you have somebody in place like helping you run the day-to-day operations?
Ooh, excellent question. So I'm doing all of the hiring. I'm doing kind of all the vetting for the team members. I really like to control the personality and the work ethic that comes into the business, both on team member side and on the sales side. I'm very protective over that. Once somebody is in, we more or less hand them off immediately to the W-2 team. This is our leadership team. That's our lead bookkeepers that do all the quality control. It's our niche specialists that are, really understand the type of client we're serving and have the soft skills. And then I also have an office manager, Grace, who is the allegedly she's the bad cop to my good cop, but honestly, she's amazing in every way. She's just incredibly more detailed than I am. So she kind of cracks the whip, make sure that stuff gets done. But that's the team structure. Once you're on the team, you meet with me a couple times. If you ever have a question, you can show up to my office hours. But as far as managing those people, all of that is on somebody else.
That's a really unique business model that you just spoke about with the subcontractors, kind of giving them the option of either joining you as a full-time employee or kind of going off and doing their own thing. That's really interesting because I think that kind of gives people this great kind of trial period to see what works for them. And not only does it work for them, it sounds like it works for you too. Is that something you kind of did from the get-go, or did you hear that from somebody else?
So this is kind of our day one approach to this, right? And so the whole extent of my like professional working experience before I started a business was bartending. And so I didn't know anything about HR, hiring, or common office policies. I knew absolutely nothing about working a 9 to 5 because I worked a 5 to whenever we closed. And so for me, the idea was, if I'm going to build a business that has all of this just freedom baked into it, right? There's no such thing as a bookkeeping emergency. You hit your deadlines, you talk to your clients, and you can work whenever you want. If I'm going to build that life and try to learn how to manage people and scale a business, the best way to do that is to just find people that are excited about the process, protect them from the big scary parts of owning a business, and say, hey, if you want to live the life and come work here and kind of experience what this is like, get some experience and really begin to understand how this actually works, come on in. And that's how I treat that's how I treat my W-2s today too. It's like my employees are welcome to run however they want to run. But from the jump, the idea with my team has been the life that I want to live, I also want my employees to live and my team members to live. And so if that's come in and subcontract and then join us as a W-2, cool. If that's come in and subcontract and you hate this entirely, you want to go to a different industry, yeah. One of my first hires started as a contractor, became a W-2, became my absolute rock star, and then turned in her notice, and she's now one of our competitors, and I love her to pieces because that was the right life move for her. We have a great relationship, and so like it's all over the map, man. I just want to love my team.
That's awesome. And it sounds like that's created a really great company culture for not only your employees, but you as well.
It is, yes. Very selfishly, it's all about me. I love my team, but I don't know. I would not get the enjoyment out of this that I do if I felt like I was exploiting my team. I don't ever want to be the big bad boss. Which is why I need like a bad cop, a taskmaster, a Grace. I need a Grace in my life. Grace is my office manager. Thank you, Grace. I need someone like that, but I've never wanted to feel like I exploit my team in some way. That just feels very not me. So yeah, it very selfishly brings me a ton of peace.
That's amazing. And it's talking about company culture is something that it's kind of a theme that we talk about regularly here, despite what our current, I'm trying to think of the word. I'm having a brain fart. Whatever series that we're doing, company culture is something that it's not really a trend. It stays and it's going to follow you and it's going to follow your company. And it's something that's so important. And so that's really cool that you've been able to create this kind of safe space for not only people to grow with you, but also grow on their own. Because I think that's really unique. And I think that's a perspective that a lot of companies need to adopt that are maybe scared too because they're scared of losing employees. But in turn, I think it do you find that it makes people more comfortable in their workspace?
I think, yeah. I mean, everybody's going to come to you. If somebody's coming to you with their hand out saying, "Hey, Ben, I really need some experience. I really need a job," in any stretch, it's like those people have problems that are deeper than money, right? There's always something else. And the kind of where I think running a bookkeeping business, you have a distinct advantage over any other business model ever, is that the rules for those other businesses don't apply here, right? Like so many people would love to work a job if it fit their schedule, right? Just for a little like timeline context, this week is back to school. Kids are going back to school right now. And there's a ton of stay-at-home parents that homeschool, or parents that have to drop their kids off and pick them up, where it's like, hey, 9 to 5 is impossible. It's strenuous, and it puts a lot of undue stress on their family. And so it's like, yeah, the whole advantage is building that culture really intentionally, and recognizing the strengths of the business model. You can work from at 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. on a Saturday, or whatever, and you can take off in the middle of the day as much as you want and take care of your family. And that, that's on you. And as long as you're hitting your deadlines, Ben loves you and you get paid, and everybody's happy. Right. And you get that total life freedom that this is really about.
I feel like you're looking into my morning, which was like me frantically emailing people because today was the first day back to school. And I literally just realized that they moved my son's drop-off time by an hour. So he gets home an hour earlier this year than he did last year. And I literally have to reschedule like weeks worth of meetings. Not to say that I don't have my shit together, guys, but yeah, I mean, working for yourself or working for somebody that allows you to have that flexibility gives you that option, right? Your typical 9 to 5, you wouldn't just be able to like go to your boss and be like, "Hey, I didn't pre-plan this. By the way, I have to be off an hour early every day."
Yeah, it's just awkward, right? At best, it's an awkward conversation, and maybe your boss is cool and things can move around. But if that wasn't a conversation you had to have at all, and you can just live your life, like, yeah, all day with that. Like, do what you need to get done. QuickBooks will still be here when you get back. And as long as I'm really intentional with that mindset, the team feels it, and the team can do what the team wants to do, and they'll love me for it and hopefully never leave me. Or when they leave me, they'll be super sad and give me as much time as I need to find their replacement, which has happened twice now, which is really, really cute. And I really respect those offers as well. So it's just, man, look, running a booking business is the best. It's just super cool. Hence I'm like totally excited to talk about this all the time with you guys.
No, and we love hearing your enthusiasm about it. I want to switch gears really quickly. So you just spoke at BKX. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what you spoke about and kind of what inspired you to hone in on that topic?
Yeah. So I spoke about what is easily the most boring thing you'll ever hear about in like business training, which is like mindset and passion in around your business. And these are some of the zones that I think you really need to begin to develop as a CEO if you're going to be successful, especially in a bookkeeping business. But the actual tactical skill that I kind of talked about at BKX was this idea of having a brain dump retreat. It's very intentional, introspective time where you get away from it all, and whatever that means to you. Take care of your people, but you get away from it all and you go and you really critically think about your business, your life, your problems, your successes, your wins, and you begin to have just a very intentional quiet time. And you come out with potentially a grandmaster plan, your own very curated, didn't have to pay $1 million to some outside entity. Here is the plan that you need to do. And if you do this, you will be successful every time thing. And it's wild. It's magic. It's crazy. We call it the brain dump retreat. It's something that I learned from a mentor, and it is excellent. I love it. I try to do one at least once a year, if not more. So my whole talk at BKX is really kind of the overview on that process, what that looks like, how to do it yourself in broad strokes, and kind of the results that you can get out of that if you would just take the time to be alone with yourself.
Yeah. So when you go, first of all, I want to backtrack to what you just said. So you learned this concept from a mentor. How long have you been doing this?
Pretty much since 2017.
Okay. And what, and you said you do it about once a year and it's just you. It's not your team. It's strictly just you.
You could take your team with you. Here's the thing, right? And it's like, for those of us that go to therapy, that it's like, hey, I'm going to go talk to a stranger or maybe not even talk to a stranger. I'm going to go sit alone with my thoughts and think about the hard things. And I don't really know what's going to come up. I could become really angry. I could be inconsolably sad for a minute. It's going to look like you're a crazy person. You're going to get a little manic doing this sort of internal processing. And so I have not done a brain dump with my team. I would maybe facilitate one for my team. But it's a really intimate experience. And so depending on your comfort level with your team, maybe everybody goes and does it together. But I've done brain dumps where it's about the business and, here's the niche that I want to do. And here's how my pricing should work. And I've done it about relationships. And here's how I want to be with my partner. And if this and that doesn't happen with my partner, I should probably leave because that's not good for me. Like it's very much whatever you want it to be, it will be. Whatever you want to work on, you're going to figure out. And so I would be kind of careful with that, but I've done them by myself. And then I've done them with my mentors and in small groups of other folks that I know and I trust, or we're total strangers. And so their opinion of me just didn't matter at all. Yeah.
Today's show is brought to you by Keeper, the one app to run your bookkeeping business. Keeper helps you get faster client responses with your own custom branded QuickBooks integrated client portal. Finally, you can say goodbye to those pesky spreadsheets full of uncategorized transactions. Keeper also helps you catch those embarrassing coding errors before your clients do. And with Keeper, you can generate beautiful custom reports that your clients will absolutely love to read. To find out more, go to keeper.app. That's keeper.app. Mention I Love Bookkeeping to get 20% off your first 3 months. Again, go to keeper.app to find out more. Thank you for listening.
So in these like brain dump sessions, about what percentage of the ideas you come up with stick?
I would argue
when it comes,
that,
let's say when it comes to your business,
Sure. So I would argue that all of them stick. That when you sit down and you're really intentional. So like one of my early brain dumps, one of the first ones that I did was like, okay, I need to pick a niche. I need to figure out who I am really going to serve. I've got these real estate clients and that's cool. I've got some digital marketing clients. I've got a cannabis client. What am I going to do? What niche am I going to, how am I going to make enough money to make this really rock? And the idea kind of became what came out of it was effectively really pick a niche and serve a niche and pick a niche where they have enough money coming in and a big enough problem that once you get in there, you're irreplaceable. They love you. They'll pay you as much as you need, as much as service as they need, you can provide. And here's kind of how that looks like. And here's the structure and the status. And here's how all of this begins to make sense. And from there, here's what this is going to do for Ben's lifestyle, for where Ben wants to live. How many dogs does Ben want to have? What kind of relationship do I want to have with my parents, with my partner? And so all of those ideas stick. The core tenets of them stick. At the time I did that brain dump, it was like, hey, maybe you should become really good at cannabis. Maybe if you became really good at cannabis, you could figure this out. But the core tenets still have to be there. They have to really need you and really be able to pay you. And so we tried that for a while and it was awful. And so we stopped but we're still doing the same thing today. We recently decided to start taking on and really targeting short-term rental management companies for those exact same tenets. They absolutely need our service. And we know that if we provide it, we'll become such an integral part of their team. They don't ever want us to leave. They need to have us around. And so that's the tenets are the same. Some of the details may shift a little bit, but that deep thought sticks every time.
That's awesome. And I think everybody could benefit from doing not only brain dumping for their business, but for just self-reflection and really finding, because I think everybody has different ways that they like to manifest their goals. Whether it's really being intentional with your thoughts and with your plans, or whether that's kind of grounding yourself with a kind of a self-reflecting, isolating brain dump trip. So when you do this for your business, and you did touch on how you kind of do this brain dump personally, do you do those all in one kind of weekend or one session, or do you have separate, or do you divide it up? Like, do you dedicate maybe one brain dump trip for business, and then maybe another one for more personal stuff, or do you just kind of do it all together?
So I think in a perfect world, it would make sense to kind of like logic that out. Like my March brain dump is always about the business, and my October brain dump is always about whatever, like my happiness, right? Humans don't work that way. That's just not how this goes. The best way to begin to be really intentional in that space is to identify the problem that you're trying to solve and really sit in that space. So one of the core tenets of this kind of retreat is about 90 days out, you need to sit down and be like, this is the thing that I want to get fixed. How can I bring home $250,000 next year? How can I have a 5-star relationship with my partner? How can I feel closer to the God of my choosing, right? Like whatever it is, like what needs to happen there? And you just kind of get to sit in that space until that trip, and don't try to answer it. Don't fight the process, but really identify the thing that you really want to work on. Set aside that intentional time in the future and get back to the busy work. Get back to the stuff that's distracting you from really processing this, but carve out that future intentional time to really get into it. And so when you think about it that way, it's like, I really don't know what my next big bad business goal is or how I'm going to brain dump on it. But I know for sure my next brain dump is going to be about relationships or personal fitness or getting a dog, whatever it is. And so those are the things that I can really begin to focus on. And when a business challenge comes up, then I know, oh, maybe it's time. Like maybe my brain dump next year is going to be, should I become an EA and offer tax services or something akin to that? Like, is that something that I really need to get done? But like, I don't know. That's not on fire for me right now. There are other things that are on fire. So those are my focuses.
I feel like you've brought up a dog a few times. I just want to point that out.
Dude, I want a dog so bad.
Okay.
You don't have a dog, or you do have a dog?
I do not. My girlfriend has 2 dogs that and so they started spending more time at my house very recently. The dogs did. And it occurred to me like the first day I was like, would I have been like 20% happier every day if I'd had a dog this whole time? And I think the answer is yes. And so this is a very recent revelation for me. So you guys just get to ride shotgun on that.
Yeah. My dog is like literally at my feet, like hanging out with me right now. It's unconditional love. Like, and I have children, so I feel like that's weird to say, but like my kids get mad at me. My dog never gets mad at me, So do it.
Yeah, I was about to say, when they start like getting attached to you, it's the best feeling. I have a dog and Harrison has a dog, and one's big, one's little, and they just gas each other up to be bad. But they sleep most of the day. Like the big one is asleep right at my feet right now, and the little one's asleep on the couch. So they're pretty not helpful. Like as far as like productivity, like not for dogs. Not our dogs. Like they shed and they sleep and they bark, and we've recently had to get shock collars. But yes, it does increase your happiness because they are so sweet.
That's so funny because my dog's the total opposite. Because like for those that don't know, I live in Nicaragua, and things are a little different here. I don't have doors on my house. My house is completely open. Like you just like walk downstairs and you walk out into like our courtyard. So we do have like a big wall up, but there's literally like no doors except for the bedrooms. And so my dog is really good security because he's big and he's scary looking. And it's so funny because anytime someone comes to drop off a delivery, they're like, "Ooh, good security." And I'm like, "Yeah, he is." Yeah. So I always recommend big dogs because first of all, they're not scary. They're usually big babies, but then at least they like look like they do something. And that's all you need. That's all you need, right? They don't have to be fierce. They just have to look fierce.
Yeah.
Dog imposter syndrome.
Our little one is mean and our big one is a big baby. Like he's the one that like, they both just follow me around and stare at me everywhere. I can't do anything without them. They're my shadows. But anywho, we got totally off on a tangent with our animals. Which we do love to talk about around here.
Yeah. We don't apologize for that. That's
no, we're not apologizing for this. Yeah. So I want to shift gears a little bit. Something that we've talked about recently is scaling, and kind of the growing pains that come with scaling. And you have this big team, you've created this big work company culture, that's just awesome. And you have this great environment. So you started in 2017. At what point do you have your first okay, I've got a scale moment?
Oh, I love this question. Okay, so what I believe fundamentally about every entrepreneur is that there are catalyst moments. And so for those of you that aren't aware, like a great example of a catalyst would be, you're in the kitchen, you're trying to boil a pot of water, put some salt in that pot, and all of a sudden it seems to boil almost immediately, right? And the idea of a catalyst in chemistry is that it is some sort of outside ingredient, some outside force that makes a reaction happen faster. It makes it easier to come to be, right? And so I really believe that that entrepreneurs have these catalyst moments. And so what happened to me when I started my business was I got fired from a job in the music industry on Christmas Eve. They said, "Hey, we're all out of money." And I was like, wow, I hate this. How can I never have this happen to me again? I better start a business, right? What should I start a business on? How about how to help people never run out of money in their business ever again? Let's start a bookkeeping firm. And then another big catalyst moment for me was 9 months later, I was playing a music festival and all of my friends effectively at that trip had to leave a week before the festival was over. And everybody else that stayed in the festival were folks that were financially independent. They owned businesses. They did the things. And I was like, okay, if I want to live this life, I really need to be independent here. The big catalyst for me in scaling and shifting from the Ben Day show to Lionshare Bookkeeping, and that Ben guy's around here somewhere, happened in the winter of 2018, spring of 2019. I had about 26 clients that I was working by myself. And that particular tax season, I had ordered a new computer and it came in and it changed my life and made me 3 times faster. And I was wearing the same set of sweatpants for a month and a half. And my partner was disgusted with me. And I took a second in the middle of tax season. I looked at my life and I looked at my choices and I was like, I don't think that I'm really happy. I think my passion for this has gone out. I think I'm now just busy and I'm really not. I'm getting the money that I wanted to be getting, but I'm no longer getting the life that I wanted. And that arguably that's more important to me. I don't want to work 80, 100 hours a week in my business if it's just to be busy, if there's not some breakout moment in 5 years where I no longer have to work at all. And so I really kind of became very introspective about that. We did a brain dump about this and it was like, okay, I have to have team members and that terrifies me. So how am I going to do this? Fortunately at the time, that whole epiphany for me happened at around the same time that a program called Bookkeeper Elite started, which spawned a whole bunch of really excellent educational content out at bookkeepers.com, including outstanding processes and people and different things of that nature. And so I was able to take advantage of those programs and kind of scale. But it really was the catalyst moment for me was kind of an introspective moment where it's like I'm sitting here in my living room and I'm making the money, but I'm not living the life. And I hate this. I'm miserable. If I really take a second, this is not where I thought I would be or where I want to be for any amount of time. How can we change this? And that's when it was, all right, let's hire a dozen subcontractors and learn how to hire and learn how to build processes and scale up and hire and do the thing. And so it's been a roller coaster for sure.
So did you have a mentor in this, or did you kind of build your processes yourself?
I did. So I've had a handful of different kinds of mentors. One of my mentors specifically does real estate investing. And they kind of were a referral partner for me for a while. They're now coaching me in my real estate stuff. But he also just runs a lot of businesses and really thoroughly enjoys being surrounded by entrepreneurs. And so one of the big benefits to me working with that mentor was that I went to him and I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about hiring employees." And he said, "Hey, you need to go talk to this guy, Brandon, immediately, because all Brandon does all day is help people wrap their head around writing processes and procedures." And so I got with Brandon and he turned out our first dozen procedures, which gave us the content we needed to hire the employees and do the stuff. Same thing with our marketing, same thing with, how we approach leadership, taking care of our team and good partnerships and all of that. It wasn't necessarily like one mentor that was a rock star at hiring. It was a mentor that knew somebody that could help me in that journey.
That's awesome. And I love hearing about how people work through processes, because I know that can be such like a hairy situation and it can be a lot of work. After you hired, is there a way that you kind of scaled your services and expanded on that?
So yes. And the key here where I think a lot of people begin to mess this up is they think, okay, I've got all these people. Now I can do all these big, bad, like advisory service stuff, right? Like all right, now I have bookkeepers. So now I can add payroll and add bill pay and add taxes and add, right? Some people can pull that off. I know that for sure. Some people can pull that off, but I think the biggest thing to understand is that like whenever you're building something new, it's gonna be you. It's gonna be your time. And so over the last couple of years, we've added bill pay. We actually just dropped our last bill pay client. We've done advisory services. We've thought really hard multiple times about taxes. And every time I get distracted by, here's the cool stuff that we could do to really level up our service offering, I am reminded that if my fundamentals aren't in place, I'm going to have to stop doing this new service so I can hop back over here and fix just bookkeeping processes. And so if you're looking to scale and really begin to build that out, you really got to go slow. You think about, what can I do today? So it's a very atomic habits, right? What's the 1% thing that I can do today that'll pay dividends forever? If I can grow by 1% today and tomorrow and the next day, et cetera, inside of a year, you won't just have grown by 365%. It's more like 3,000% because, math and being a nerd. But you got to go slow and you really got to make sure that your whole team is in place. It's not enough to just have a bookkeeper. You got to kind of hire your way out of a job until you have tons of time. And then now all of a sudden you can provide advisory services. You can do bill pay. You can start a whole new business doing whatever you want. But if you try to do all of it at the very beginning, when you've hired your first person, you're going to drown.
That's awesome. And I like hearing that advice because I do think people get caught up in like shiny new services that they can offer and kind of throw them into the mix and seeing what sticks to the wall without establishing a really, really well-established process. Because I think when you add something, it can be easy to get distracted by it and kind of miss the important little details on your main services. And that's actually a pain point that we see often, I feel like, is different services getting neglected because of something newer, or even vice versa. It's newer services getting neglected because there's not really a great process in place. So I think that's such great advice to go slow and steady. So can you, I just want to get some quick facts about your business. How many clients do you think you're currently serving?
Well over 100. At this point, we're counting team members, not clients.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about some of the goals you have for your business?
Yeah. So right now, and I've kind of alluded to this a couple times, we've got different sub niches of clients that we begin to serve. And our goal in the immediate short, like between now and 48 hours from now, I'm going to my mastermind and they're going to hold me accountable to this. So in the next 48 hours, we're going to have officially launched all of our funnels and all of our content, specifically targeting those sub niches to put the marketing and client acquisition more or less on autopilot. And I'm looking for, very specifically right now, I'm looking for a rock star in the Airbnb space. I think I've found them, but we'll see. But what I'm trying to do is if I can have a fully established production team, cleanup bookkeeper, recurring bookkeeper, quality control, niche specialist in each of these sub niches, I'm out of a job. So that's the real push right now, is beginning to really establish those. From there, I have no idea what the next business goal is. I'm kind of in a season of personal growth right now as opposed to business growth, that's
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Ben, we have so loved having you on the show. As always, you have so much information to share, and such a wealth of knowledge. And I think our listeners are really going to love hearing from you and all the different stuff that we got to talk about today. We will be putting this on our social media. Do you have a social media page that people can follow you at?
I sure do. You can find me all over the place. We are Lionshare Bookkeeping. And then we've also started doing branding around landlord CFO. And then we've got another kind of our like advisory thing that we'll be launching soon is called short-term CFO. And so you can find us all over the place. Best place to get started is just stalk me on Facebook. And then you'll see all the things.
Perfection. Well, you heard it here first. You can stalk Ben Day on Facebook. If you would like to reach us, you have comments, questions, concerns, or you have comments, questions for Ben so we can have him back on the show, please shoot us an email at hello@ilovebookkeeping.com. Again, that's hello@ilovebookkeeping.com. And don't forget to subscribe. We have new episodes out every Tuesday and Thursday. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts for Android, and Spotify. So don't forget to subscribe. My name is Hannah Robinson.
And I'm Melissa Honan.
And thank you for tuning in to the I Love Bookkeeping podcast.
I love bookkeeping. Here's a little shout to all my friends working hard at keeping the books. You want to change your life, you want to grow